Hey everybody, what I've got here is the new 3-rail O-scale UP Big Boy 4014 restoration version. It's made by MTH and we're going to check it out real quick right now on Eric's Trains. So MTH brought out the Restoration Big Boy in October of 2020, and at that time I decided not to order one, and the reason is because I already have an MTH Big Boy 4014 in my fleet, and so I figured, well, it's the same model, same features and everything, I really don't see a reason to order another one, and so I passed on it. Well, then I saw one of these at the train store, and I changed my mind and decided to pick one up for two reasons. Number one, the glossy paint scheme on the restoration version is really cool. They also have the Big Boy written in chalk up front. But more importantly, when the engine was powered up at the train store, I happened to hear the PFA sound sequence that MTH loaded onto this model, and it is phenomenal. It's one of the best PFA sound sequences I've ever heard from an MTH model, and that was the primary reason why I decided to pick one of these up. So if you're looking for a full review of this model, this is probably not the best video. Check out the full review of the MTH Big Boy that I did a few years ago. I'll put a link to that video in this video. What I'm going to do in this video is talk briefly about the restoration paint scheme, and then after that we'll power this thing up and take it for a spin and check out that amazing PFA sound sequence. Alright, so let's talk about the restoration paint scheme. On the MTH Restoration Big Boy that we have here, as you can see, both the locomotive and the tender have this glossy black finish. And when MTH and Lionel brought out their Restoration Big Boys, the glossy black finish on the models really upset and confused a lot of people in the hobby. They thought it was a mistake. Why would they have a glossy black finish on a steam locomotive? That's totally irregular. They must have made a mistake, but in fact, it was done very much on purpose. The whole concept behind doing a Restoration Big Boy model was to replicate the look of 4014 after the restoration. And when 4014 was restored and returned to service, it did in fact look like a shiny, brand new locomotive. And so rather than being a mistake, the shiny black paint scheme is very accurate. Now, one side note is that as accurate as the MTH paint scheme is, in my opinion, the Lionel Restoration Big Boy model actually has a more accurate paint scheme because they took the accuracy one step further. On the Lionel Restoration Big Boy, yeah, the locomotive has a shiny black paint scheme, but the tender has a flat black paint scheme, and it's very jarring. You've got this brand new locomotive up front, and then this sort of drab, flat black tender behind it. And that decision further reinforced people's belief that it was a mistake, and it really confused a lot of people. But in fact, it was a really cool decision by Lionel, because when 4014 was restored, yeah, the locomotive was shiny and new, but the tender was borrowed from UP 3985 and was not a restoration. And so Lionel's decision to have a brand new looking Big Boy up front but sort of a drab, flat black tender behind it was actually more accurate. Now, obviously, MTH didn't go that way. They decided to do the glossy black paint on both the locomotive and the tender, and I do think it gives the whole model a more consistent appearance. So I don't think it was a bad decision on MTH's part, but technically speaking, I think the Lionel paint scheme is a little more true to the real thing. So yeah, that glossy black paint did confuse a lot of people, and by the way, it goes without saying that you probably don't want to weather one of these restoration models, because that would kind of defeat the whole purpose. It's supposed to look like a brand new locomotive. Now, you may wonder why I didn't get one of the Lionel Restoration Big Boys. Well, in a perfect world, if I had unlimited amounts of money, I would. But I had to decide, and I went with the MTH Restoration Big Boy because, as I said earlier, it's got that killer PFA sequence, and also because, as everybody knows, the future of MTH is kind of up in the air right now, and not knowing what's going to happen, I said, you know, maybe I should get an MTH model while I can. Now, I don't think MTH is going to go away. I honestly think they will continue in some form or fashion, but it's still an unknown, and so for that reason, I decided to grab the MTH model. The other notable feature about the restored Big Boy is that it has the name Big Boy written on the front of the boiler, and of course this is a reference to how the Big Boy got its name. Originally, the Big Boy locomotives were going to be called Wasatch type locomotives, but when Big Boy number 4000 was being built, one of the shop workers took a piece of chalk and wrote Big Boy on the front of the locomotive, and the name stuck. Alright, now it's time for the fun part. Let's go ahead and start this thing up.
Bring that spout over. That'll do it.
That is quite the startup sequence. Very cool. Alright, so I told you the main reason I bought this version was for that killer PFA sequence, so let's go ahead and check that out first.
And now I'd like to welcome Union Pacific's Chairman, President, and CEO, Lance Fritz, to the stage. He is the man who gave the green light to bring Locomotive 4014 back to life. Lance, the microphone is yours. On my left, Union Pacific number 844, brought to Union Pacific in 1944, topping out at a speed 110 miles an hour. Far down the track on my right, the latest steam locomotive to join the Union Pacific family, the Big Boy, Union Pacific 4014, all 1.2 million pounds, 7,000 horsepower. So let's get started on why we're here today. Union Pacific Lance Fritz, calling Union Pacific Big Boy number 4014. Over. Union Pacific 4014, responding to Chairman Lance Fritz. Come in, over. I'm in position in front of your locomotive. We're ready for you to make a move. Are you ready? Over. UP 4014 is ready to proceed. Chairman Fritz, over. Union Pacific 4014. Take him ahead. Over. Understood. Here we come. Union Pacific coming ahead. Here we come, sir. The wedding of the railroads happened just 40 miles northwest of here on May 10, 1869, and it changed America forever. Travel that took 6 months to go from New York to San Francisco at the risk of your life literally turned into a 10-day excursion in relative comfort. And while that connection was finally complete, the journey really was only beginning. The creator of the famous Golden Spike knew that better than all as he inscribed on that famous spike a prayer. May God continue the unity of our country like this railroad unites the two great oceans of this world.
How cool was that? So hopefully now you can see why I bought the MTH version. Alright, there you have it. The 3-rail O-scale UP Big Boy 4014 restoration version by MTH. If you want to pick one of these up, the retail price is right at $1,700. Although keep in mind that if you go through a good MTH dealer, you should be able to get a little bit of a discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good MTH dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. If you'd like to support this channel, I would greatly appreciate it. That can be done through Patreon at patreon.com/ericstrains. Patreon supporters get early access to videos, and top-tier supporters get their names listed at the end of every Eric's Trains video while they're a supporter. And I'd like to put a big thank you out there to all of my current Patreon supporters. Your support means the world, not only to me, but to the future of this channel. And finally, if you'd like to buy an Eric's Trains t-shirt or anything else I might be selling, check out the Eric's Trains online store at ericstrains.com/store. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.